Ba, 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 ba. We're good to go?
Do that again?
Ba, 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 ba.
Is that the Popeye theme? What is it?
I don't know what that is.
Pop?
Popeye theme. Like, are you talking like Popeye, like cartoon, or Popeye Robin Williams?
Robin Williams. First movie I ever went and saw in theaters.
Really?
I should have said that.
Jesus Christ. You're
How
just
old
dating
is
the
this
shit out of
guy?
yourself. Robin Williams, Shelley Duvall, and who's the bad guy? What's the bad guy's name in Popeye? Brutus?
Brutus? I can't remember who played Brutus in that.
Bob Hoskins?
Sure, let's go with Bob Hoskins.
I don't know why I guessed that. So you saw Pop. That was the first movie
Okay,
you
so
saw
let's
in
move on to
theaters.
something else.
Unbelievable. That
Because
is,
I think there's a... Was that 19... Is it 70 something?
I don't know.
Might be, yeah.
I don't know. That's really funny. Well, that was Peter Michaels dating himself, offering us a glimpse into the... Well, one of these days we will see one of your IDs.
Oh, I think I just broke a hip. Just moving on the chair.
What's going on?
This is episode, I don't even know what,
Sure.
of The Road, the Stage.
That's a good sign, right? Is that we've
it's a
progressed
good
so much
sign.
we don't know?
And not only is it, I mean, we have no idea what episode number this is. We didn't even know where the hell we were recording this thing.
I was telling my girlfriend we recorded on Sunday. So Saturday I was telling her that I'm excited about this because hours before the interview we were facing conflict. There was a struggle happening. There was
literally had
adversity.
no idea where this thing was going to go down.
So we went up to Edmonton. This is our first out-of-studio interview. We went up to Edmonton because they were having this Together Again music festival. And, we drove up to Edmonton Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Ryley and I, our video producer, and then you were already up there. And we were going to do an interview at 1 o'clock, and we didn't know where.
Maybe indoors, maybe outdoors.
Maybe in the hotel lobby.
Maybe.
I called the library around the corner to ask if they were renting out rooms, and they said no, obviously, because of the pandemic. But, ask us again when it's all over. And then it was kind of suggested that we find an outdoor space around there. It was right downtown. You scoped out the outdoor scenes. It wasn't going to happen.
Wasn't kosher.
Construction
everywhere.
Yeah. Birds.
I think we would have been interrupted for sure.
Which could have been fun.
Could have been fun for sure.
So fairly last minute, how did it happen? I don't even know how it happened.
Well, so when I was talking to the manager, he said, as long as it's somewhere close to the venue.
Right.
And my son just moved up to Edmonton.
Right.
And has a place about 4 minutes away from the Westin.
Yeah, the hotel.
So the hotel. So that came to be.
So did you ask or did you just tell?
I think I asked. I asked, right, Ethan? Yeah, I asked.
We got a thumbs up.
We got
you
a thumbs
said,
up. I asked.
"Hi, son. Can we kick your roommates out of the apartment?
Taking
and
over
use
your
it?"
apartment. Luckily, they were all out. Everybody was gone. Everybody was working. So it was honestly, it was really easy.
Oh, I thought we kicked a couple of them out.
Well, it sounds better that way. Sure, we actually had to grab them by the scruff of their necks and get out of here, kid.
So yeah, Ryley set up all the video gear and we made it work.
So we got a glimpse into college life, dorm life of today. What was the first place that you moved out of when you moved onto your own for the very first time?
It was at Fanshawe College in London, Ontario, where you just picked your kid up from. I got there. It was a January start, so I missed the first semester. Went up in January, got to my room. It was huge. It was like a massive corner suite in this residence apartment building. And I didn't see any roommates until later in the day. There's a guy messing around with boxes in the kitchen, and I came out of my room. It's 3 bedrooms, massive kitchen, massive living room. It was unbelievable. There were 2 bathrooms. I'd never seen anything like it. And he's got his back to me, and I'm like, "Hey man, I'm Patrick. Nice to meet you. I'm living here now." Doesn't respond. Turns out he was deaf.
Oh.
And he was moving out. So what I didn't know is that I was in this giant suite made to accommodate people with
disabilities.
Yeah, exactly.
So
he moved out the day I moved in, and then it was just me and Alan Rankin, who was just a wild guy from Ottawa.
And did you know Alan Rankin? Or he
Hell
was
no.
Yeah. Okay.
I got to know him.
How did that work out?
But just the two of us had this enormous suite.
Well, I guess if you got space.
We didn't really use the space, but
if you didn't get along, you could at least distance from each other, but you guys got along.
We got along, developed a very, very rigid way of preventing smoke from leaving the suite very quickly. It was a good time.
Yeah.
And then I got kicked out of school. But anyways, what about your first
I'll have to delve
dorm
into that
experience
at some point. It was a duplex in Calgary, and I had a couple of buddies that I grew up with that we moved in. So it was just a pretty cool little duplex.
So you didn't do residence?
I did not do residence, although I did terrorize residents when we were
the
going
SAIT
to school.
ones specifically down in Calgary.
Yeah, the SAIT ones specifically. There's some memories there. But the one thing we did was, and we'd actually, I don't know if we looked in my son's fridge while we were up there, but he took over and did the same thing. We put a can of beer in the back of the fridge.
Okay.
And that beer was not to be touched at all during the school year, so that we could say there was always beer in the fridge.
Oh, interesting.
And that one it stayed there. And then on our very last day when we moved out, cracked that one, and we had to
and
pound her down.
This is back in the days when you drank dirty domestic beer, right?
It gets dirtier.
Nothing like what Sawback has to offer.
No, I don't think you'd want to leave like a hazy IPA sitting in a fridge for 9 months.
Doesn't it just get hazier?
No,
in
some
a way,
other funky things go on with it for sure.
Wow. So did you live there for your full 2-year diploma at SAIT?
No, two different places. For 2 years.
Yeah. Same people though, same roommates.
No, different roommates. And then we actually had one roommate that ended up dropping out of school the second year, about 2 months in. So we had to do a quick search to find somebody else. We actually almost got kicked out of that place. My dad was very good with words.
Yeah.
And had to write a letter to our landlord to let us stay in this one particular
You guys set
place.
things on fire?
You got kicked out of school?
Yeah, I just didn't go to class.
Oh, okay. There was no fire lighting. We were on the second floor, and we used the balcony for an entry exit a lot, which was a bit of a no-no.
Right.
There may have been an incident of nudity in the pool, the common area pool. So anyways.
Fun stuff. Well, the reason we bring that up is not just because we were conducting our interview in not a residence. It was a nice apartment.
Right. Yes, very nice apartment.
But is because our guest was just awarded or allowed and admitted to the Hall of Fame for college concerts and activities, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Something like that?
Yeah. They played universities and colleges, frosh weeks, all that kind of stuff, a ton.
Which is funny because I remember 10 years ago or whatever, maybe it wasn't 10 years ago. I mean, probably how long has USS been kicking?
2006?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So, I remember hearing their name pop up around Frosh Week concerts and stuff like that. Same time as friends were really getting into the Arkells and Headley.
Moving right along.
But yeah, so we were very excited to talk to Jason Parsons.
Jason Parsons, human kebab.
The human kebab. That is God damn it. I didn't realize until now. I wanted to ask why the human kebab.
Well, we may get another opportunity
Yes,
because
that's true.
they are going to be in Red Deer where we record in November, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Final Frequency Tour.
And this is just kind of sort of one half of USS that's on the show now, and we'll hopefully get the other half in sometime in November.
Wrapping it up, hanging up the old kebabs.
After
the skewers.
15-ish years.
Yeah. But it was a great chat, and really nice guy. You've known him for a long time. We've both known him for a while, but you really
well, I
know
think
him,
honestly,
right?
the first time when they came through Red Deer, I think you interviewed them. It was at Westerner Days, our big fair and exposition, right? And you were in the tent.
Oh, I forgot.
And I think you had chatted with them before that show in the Century Room, which they, as we didn't get into it in this chat, but in previous chats, they didn't realize they were playing the big stadium. I don't think they knew they were in. I think they thought they were in a tent.
So we still have lots to talk to them about in the future.
Yeah.
All right.
No
Well,
shortage.
that's good. In the meantime, shout out to
Go Services Inc. Who do you golf?
I golf once a year when it's for free, and I have not done that yet this year. So
Okay, is that a little bit? Anyway, they are very community-minded guys there, and they've been out at a lot of golf tournaments, helping support the community. So just good community-minded individuals at Go Services Inc.
it must suck to attend so many golf tournaments.
Yeah, it's just
What a grind.
oh, man,
what a grind.
And a huge shout out to Sawback Brewing.
Yep.
And
tasty.
Tourism Red Deer.
Yep.
Bowes Barn Stage. There's some people behind the scenes here that help.
Producers Ryan and Ryley. Ry.
Which one's Ry?
That's a good. Well, it depends what day it is.
Okay.
And live from Communal Creative Studios, and then also from Ethan's apartment.
Ethan's apartment. Jason, human kebab from USS.
For us, they opened the dance floor, and the dance floor is huge.
Is it?
It's literally like half of like a football field.
So it's staged dance floor tables?
Yes.
So neither of us have been to the festival.
Yeah.
But as I understand it, everyone, you buy tickets with the people you plan on going to enjoy the show with.
Yes.
From a specific section, right?
Yeah.
How spread out is it?
Well, I guess like 6 feet.
Okay.
All around.
Yeah.
But the dance floor, they're like, yeah, we brought this in special for you guys. And we're like, wow, like they're actually going to have like a mosh pit, basically.
Yeah.
And they're so excited about it. Only Edmonton, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they haven't done this for any of the other shows?
No, I was shocked. Like OLP was here last Sunday.
Yeah.
And it was all picnic tables. They said Blue Rodeo. The picnic tables were like almost against the speakers. And they have an older fan base. So they just probably like, holy shit. Stop, Greg Keeler. So, but anyways, it's exciting. We're stoked.
So is it the first show in some time?
21 months. Yeah.
How many days?
614.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild, man.
Totally.
So how are you feeling? I mean, you've never done that, ever.
No, never. And to roll from rehearsal right into a flight to Edmonton, it was nice to having yesterday to just do our own thing because I feel everyone had to get acclimatized to not just going back 2 time zones, but just being on the ground and getting ready to perform in front of, potentially thousands of people. And they gave us a 3-hour load and sound check, which is a nice change for COVID protocol. I hope that happens for future artists and bands, that they stretch things out a little bit more for all of us to take our time.
Yeah.
Because it was nice to shake off the rust and just get accommodated on stage again with local crew and, our guys. And but then at the same time, like we started getting hyper because we're like, wow, there's going to be people here. And like, there was like, like a father and son for his 13th birthday that were fans, that were a friend of the promoter, that were there special for the sound check. And, we signed drumsticks for them. And he came to the stage, we took a photo, and I'm like, wow, it's like we're literally back on tour again. So it just felt like the normalcy was
old
there.
habits just fall back in line? Like, does everything just...
I just feel like now, like, no one's stressed anymore because we're not racing to the finish line. Like when you're on tour, you're competing with, bus call the night before at 2 a.m., wake up in the city, try to have coffee and breakfast, go do press, radio station, maybe some local media, go back to the hotel, get situated. Oh, now you got to go over for load in sound check. Oh, there's going to be a meet and greet, VIPs. Doors are about to happen. Guys, you got to get off stage.
Yeah.
And then it's like opener, second opener, and then you play. And then by the time the show's over, you just like want to unwind. And now you're hanging out with fans and you're at a bar somewhere and it's like 3 a.m. and you're doing it all over again the next day. And that's why people get sick and get exhausted. And it's just so exciting, but your body can only handle so much, right?
It's a grind.
Yeah,
Flat out, it's a grind.
But a great grind.
A great grind.
Like it never once in 14 years has felt like a job.
So you've got this show tonight, this kind of distance festival night in Edmonton, and then you go on tour, hopefully in the next couple of months. Is tonight like I know it's like kind of a warm up, but I imagine you guys have been planning what you're going to do on the final tour for a while now, right?
Yeah, we have a loose idea, but it was nice getting back together with Matt and Ash because when you're in person, face to face, you really start the exchange of ideas starts flowing really fluidly.
Yeah.
And we want to play some songs that we've never played live, and especially ones that we tried out 5 or 6 years ago that we sort of put to bed for our future headlining tours and one-off festival plays. Because like for example, the show tonight is 60 minutes. So we're really going to only be able to jam in like all the key moments. And like, it's like, hey, we're USS, boom, 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 good night.
Yeah.
Whereas with tour and anticipating there might be an encore or two because it's the final run. Okay, now we should like really, in rehearsals, try out those moments that we've always dreamed of that we're now putting in the time because it's like the last time fans are going to get to see USS.
Yeah. How's that feel?
Earlier in 2020 and in 2021, I was in the dumps about it for a really long time. Just because, to have a conversation about it with my bandmate is one thing and with our team, but then to put it out publicly and then to do a press run around our final album where inevitably it was, yeah, we want to talk about your new record, but we actually want to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the end of the band. But now being back with those two dudes, and especially Ash and I reconnecting, because I haven't seen Ash in 614 days.
That's so crazy.
So we didn't even see each other for press, the final album, nothing. Like, it was all done remotely. and just to like be around each other again. And like, you know, we have a very complimentary vibe in person, and like we both love USS so much when we come together for the live experience. It was almost like the band's continuing on, because like we hadn't seen each other and shared those hilarious moments, and like there's no ill will.
Yeah.
Like we both mutually decided like, you know, maybe we should close this chapter and open our new ones on our own and see where it takes us. And it's interesting because we've been joking around about how there's bands nowadays and artists who have like hung up their skates, but then they put them back on in a few years, because inevitably, you know, enough time passes, and you know, you go out into the universe and you see what happens, and then who knows, right? But I say that jokingly because it feels good to be with him now and to be USS for the next 3 months. But I also know myself that once I invest my time and energy into other projects, I go in head on with everything. So for me, I've already got some things lined up that I'm really excited about that I want to put that same energy into that was in USS. And I'm sure enough, like, you know, it might take me like years into other parts of the planet with music. And, you know, USS might be an afterthought, because I'm starting to feel a vibe that I put 14 years into this thing for a reason to get to now. And then now I'm ready for other projects, because there are some artists that can do the multiple, you know, alter egos, bands and all that stuff. But it's really tough. Like, I feel like you really have to commit to one thing. Like, I admire people that can do it, but even those artists, like I look at Josh Homme, like Queens of the Stone Age, or even like Jack White. Yeah. But they have so much space in between the projects that they do. And then those ones go on the back burner. Like, you know, Jack White break from the White Stripes, did the Rack-On Tours. Yeah. And did that for a little bit, and then that just kind of went away.
Then Dead Weather, a very different project.
And like kind of jumps through them, but then, you know, and then the White Stripes get put on the back burner, and then they come back one last time, and then that's it. So it's like, you know, maybe USS could go down that road, but I don't want to speak on it as a permanent idea, because, again, like I know me and I know Ash, we probably will set sail and invest our time into other things.
Wild, man. Like, I just, the time between you two hanging out, seeing each other throughout not just the pandemic, but also a time when you're saying goodbye.
It was New Year's Eve, right? It was a New Year's Eve show.
2019 in Western New York. Yeah, the U.S.
That was the last time.
Yeah.
Damn.
That was the last time.
When was the last time we saw you guys? When was...
Probably the fall of 2018 on Bona Vista Tour at Bose.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 2018, oh my God.
Yeah. That's the
crazy.
thing with music, right? Like, it's such a unique industry to be a part of, because you really have to like space out things if you want to retain fans, grow your fan base, like, you know, like have love at radio, have your label support you and all this stuff. There are bands that we know that, you know, they do it all every single year. Maybe it's financially driven. Maybe it's because they just want to be on the road all the time. Yeah. But for us, like, and especially with the guidance of our excellent team, we've always prided ourselves on like quality over quantity. And that's also why, like, for the longest time, we only did like 7-song EPs. Mm-hmm. Because at the time, the tank of Ash and I was full of ideas. But as we burned through them, getting to an empty tank, that's when Ash said, okay, that's enough. Like, I only want to do 7 songs. And, you know, our fans like really took to them, because like we literally put everything we had in those sessions into those songs. And we had to go on writing trips around the world at one point because the tank was actually empty. And the tank being, you know, the creative nucleus of Ash, because, you know, 9 times out of 10, he has a folder of 1,000 ideas that he sends my way, and I kind of pick through them. And then when we get together with a producer or songwriter in Nashville, LA, or, you know, in the UK, or I pull that folder out when we're missing a verse, or we need half of a chorus or a bridge or something. And that's how, you know, we've made those records.
Crazy, man. It's a wild process.
Yeah. And everyone's different.
Yeah.
Like every story I hear from all these bands, and I mean, some bands, like I look at the Arkells, they're putting out a new song every few months. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, like their work ethic they're probably the hardest working band in Canada, even the pandemic. And I mean, I feel like, you know, Max and company, they're just constantly writing, and then they're like, yeah, let's put out a new song. Whereas like someone like Ash and myself, we know what like makes us tick and what creatively works and what like our fans want to hear. So we really commit to that process when the time is right. I think if USS had have been pumping out music consistently the whole time, we might have become passe even with our fans.
Yeah.
Because if the quality starts diminishing, I feel that's when people start to tune you out. Because not everybody's up to the challenge. Like, not everyone's Tyler Joseph and 21 Pilots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the guy just sits at home in his little studio in Columbus, Ohio, and writes Stressed Out, goes around the world, and then they disappear off social media for 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, but when they come back, it's like, whoa, 21 Pilots World Tour, sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? Instantly sold out.
Well, with Einsteins, like, so these songs have been around for a while, some of them.
Yeah.
And now the recording of it has been done quite a while ago. So what's
Yeah.
it like now getting ready to do this tour? Are these songs, are they like brand new songs to you again? Like, because it was written, it was done, and then sat for so long.
So interestingly enough, Happy and Pages are the singles from Einsteins. Pages is about to come out as a single officially.
Cool.
And we knew that all along, that Happy would be first and then Pages. We've never played either one of those songs live. In fact, we tried to rehearse Happy for Edmonton, and Ash wasn't even sure if it was a key he was comfortable singing in because we'd done it so long ago when he was in that mindset.
Yeah.
And for a singer like him, he has to be on stage to like really sing, to hit those high notes. And then we just decided, you know what, let's save it for tour and really hunker down and work on those songs live. Let's not rush them. If Edmonton said, hey, 90 minutes, yes, we would do more new stuff. But we were like, it's our first show back. The fans will just want to see us play live and jump around and get crazy. Yeah. And we'll give them some special moments that we've never done. But maybe we should wait until we're tour ready to do like the new stuff. Because as you said, like, those songs technically are new, but they're actually old now for us. Because we did Happy in like 2018. We didn't even finish it until Einsteins.
Yeah, when did that drop? Like,
we dropped it officially last fall.
that song specifically though, was that last summer you guys put?
2020.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Well, and then Big Life was
end of 2018.
Yeah.
Bonavista Tour.
Bonavista Tour, right.
The Medicine was the spring of 2018.
Right.
We did that in Nashville, and we did Big Life in Nashville. And then, Einsteins was remote.
I just like, okay, so you announced that you guys are going on one final big outing. Obviously, a lot of time and energy and thought went into making that decision in the first place, and then probably deciding when you were going to announce that. You send that post out, you start seeing the fan reactions. What are you thinking?
I mean, I was like ready for, all the tears of the synergy seekers around the world. And there was some in the first week, but it's just amazing how compassionate people are now because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because Ash and I had our own reasons for why we decided that we should close the book and go out on our own. But then doing it in a pandemic, it was almost fitting because, like the average person understands that about everyone now. And it's not just that COVID is an excuse. It's that it couldn't have been better timed, although that's not what we planned previously, that we were going to call it quits and that, yes, we would do one more final tour and give it our all. And people are just so understanding of it. At first, like they were, I was getting private messages myself from fans that were worried and they're like, what are you going to do next? And, we support you guys. And like Ash isn't even on social media. So I kind of took the brunt of it, which has been the case with USS for, over 10 years now.
Yeah.
But people were just like really understanding. I think that like with music and art, I think a lot of people recognize that it takes your life force to create this stuff and to go out and live it and work it. Mm-hmm. And they already get the vibe that Ash in particular is a fragile, sensitive person who needs to do his own thing. And he needs to go out into his own world and be in the wilderness and meditate and go to monasteries and hang out with this person in this building and, plant trees over here. And he's not like going for gold like I am 24/7 where I'm like, no, we got to keep going. Let's go. Oh, where's the singer? Okay, well, we gotta go. They're like, where's the singer? I'm like, oh.
Which is great though, right? Because it probably, you balance each other out, right?
Literally yin yang.
Yeah.
But with, you take the good with the bad, but in our case, like, again, like this is to reiterate the point of why we decided to end it is that I feel like it got to a point where we thought we were going in the same direction, but we came to realize that we both work at different paces.
Yeah.
And that's why when you first asked me about the end and the final tour and how I felt about it. The point I've been driving home ever since we made the decision, announced it, we've been talking to people about it, is that for me, like, I want to put the USS energy into other things where I can move at my own pace.
Yeah.
Whereas with Ash, like, he really needs to take his time and like figure out like what he wants to do and where he wants to go. And I think both of us in the end, it was probably the best decision we ever could have made, because to be in a band, like it's your entire life energy goes into it, especially when it becomes your career and now you're accountable to fans. I once met Dallas Green outside of the SoCan Awards. It was the first time I'd ever met him. And we were talking about finding music and getting the right songs and getting ready for a new campaign. And he said, and this is like some of the best advice I ever got, and I literally talked to him for 10 minutes. And he's like, I write what I want, I record what I want. It has to be right with me. And when it comes out, it's no longer mine. It's my fans. And I'm like, that's actually the truest thing that anyone's ever said to me, coming from a person like him, who I've greatly admired since he was in Alexis on Fire.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's right. You know, and he's an artist that gets that part of it that I think Ash gets, where singers, they are this like special breed of creators that they have to do it from the right place at the right time. And they all seem to have that common thread. Like Ash and I are friends with Ryan Goldemont from Mother Mother. He's on that wavelength, you know, from what I gather. And like, those are like the real great artists. Like even the ones that have now passed for various reasons. They all have the same thing, like Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell. They just have this certain way that they have to live their lives to create those moments that we all love forever, but they can't do it all the time. And if they do it all the time, you look at the probability, most of them end up passing away.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit gets hairy.
It's a real thing. And I feel like for me with USS, it was getting to a point where I was being selfish because I wanted it. I wanted to go around the world 10 times over. And Ash is like, well, we got to slow down, man. Like, I'm my own special thing. I need my time. And so I think it's for the best.
But just talk a little bit about the differences of how you prepare for a show day. Because I can imagine you're getting psyched and pumped and ready to go. And I know Ash likes to chill, right? Like normally he'll head out of town.
Yeah, he sometimes he'll meditate in a trailer. Like he always usually has the same playlist. It's so funny because for me, like I talk to people and then I'll disappear because I got to save my energy for the stage. But Ash, on the other hand, he'll become the hyper one and he'll be like jumping around and listening to like drum and bass and his favorite pop music. And like, we're like, whoa, buddy, we're like, slow down, man. You got to sing for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Cause he gets to be like a kid, like in a candy store. But yes, most of the time, Ash, he's always been the one, like the true introvert, where he has to take his own time to charge his batteries. And that usually involves like a YMCA in whatever city we're in. He does his exercises. He will hang out with like people he trusts that will take him around and show him things. And he's really into like waterfalls. And like sometimes he will literally, the trailer will be full of people and he's like legs crossed in the corner with his earbuds in and he's like doing this like Buddhist chant and he has all his idols set up in front of him and like he's just like, it's so his world.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm talking to the promoter, we're doing a shot, hanging out with our drummer, we're talking about like crazy shows and like it's interesting. We're very like opposing forces, but definitely yin yang.
That's perfect because that's exactly how I picture him.
And you've spent years like honing exactly how you two should coexist on tour together, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Is there anything that you're doing different for the final go?
For me, like I think because it's the final tour and we're not working towards something, we're basically like concluding it. That I think that personally, like I might be a little less social than I normally would be.
Yeah.
Because when you're going for it in a band, you always want to be on, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially if you're more the business side or like the social media side, that you have to make all the appearances and outside of press, like, you know, somebody's got to talk to everybody. Like, you know, I guess like you could say I'm like the spokesperson for USS.
Which you do very well.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
But with this final tour, I feel like maybe it's my time to be selfish and actually like stay in the hotel more and like really put it into the shows and then maybe see people afterwards. Whereas in the past, it would be like press, hang out, lunch, dinner, fans, meet up with fans afterwards. Cause you just always feel like you got to give back to people because I mean, I'm still of the mindset that like no one like cares about us or our music. So every time I go out, I'm just like, you got to just go for it, man. Like, they might not come back ever again. Like, we're still in my parents' basement in Stoneville, Ontario in 2005 in the winter. you know, but
You've seen the tattoos people put on themselves.
yeah, well, I put them on our website, you know,
Yeah.
so.
Well, also, like, there's, you know, every band has fans that they get from those personal interactions, right?
Yeah.
People that may never have heard your music or didn't even know you were playing on stage that night. They're just around, and they'll meet someone like you and be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to check those guys out.
And it's like, that's why to me, like being personable with potential fans and existing fans has always been so important. And Ash feels the same way. He's not always available, but he gives it his all when they're around. We've never taken that for granted. And we've heard lots of stories and we've had interactions with other bands and artists where they just want to come and play the gig and go. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's the world is your oyster. However you go about it, it's your business. And if your fans stick around, that's awesome. But I mean, we've always felt compelled to like be with them and be personable and hang out with them and treat them like human beings. Cause, you know, in most cases, like they're awestruck and I guess they look at us as quote unquote being rock stars and whatever, everything else. Ash and I are still roofers mentally that are still trying to get, you know, a song on the radio or draw on a record label because we love what we're doing so much. Like Ash and I weren't even friends when we started USS. And I think that's why we had so much success for so long, is because we literally went into it as like partners in crime artistically and then figured it out and got close as we went along naturally. But I know, you know, you hear stories all the time, like Noel and Liam Gallagher still don't even talk. And it's like, you know, family band, right?
They're goddamn brothers.
Yeah.
And they don't even talk. Like Ash, like used to say when we first took off and we were doing like, you know, big radio interviews and like we were starting to get interviewed by like national publications. They're like, oh, so you guys must be best friends. And then we look at each other and you go, no, we're actually contractually obligated to hang out. And I'm like, he's right. Like, he's right. Like,
Yeah.
You know, and that's probably why, like, when he goes off to meditate or goes to a waterfall for 2 days before the show and I'm hanging out on White Ave, it's not a big deal because, like, we're not like, oh, we need each other. We're best buds. We got to do everything together. It's literally like two guys that came together that had mutual dreams and interests, but were never intimately friends.
Yeah. But and it's so funny how you mesh so well together, though, right?
Yes.
Like creatively,
Yeah.
there's just such an unbelievable sync between the two of you.
Yeah, and I think that's because, like, in my case with Ash, like, when we actually played a show together back in 2004 at the Drake Hotel on Queen Street West in Toronto. And it was me, Human Kebab as the rapper, and it was Ash as Mensa Dropout, 3-piece grunge guy. And when he came out on stage, he jumped off a stepladder. He was wearing antennas, like a skin-tight soccer jersey, and, like, he started playing, and, like, the songs he played that night ended up on all of our records. Because I took a mental note. I was like, whoa, this guy's like a reincarnation of Kurt Cobain and Beck, but he lives in Canada. And I was so intrigued by him. And he was into me because of my confidence as a performer. And like, I was doing a funny rap thing, but I was like making it theatrical and I was like scratching with my mouth and just being like the zany person I am in the band. But I had like the business acumen. Like I was a business graduate out of university.
Okay.
He was a college dropout in an art program where they told him that the first 100 songs you wrote, throw them out. Meanwhile, I'm like, Ash, give me all the tapes. I gotta listen to them. Because I went into it as a DJ.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like this could, you know, this, like our song Anti-Venom. Like Ash was like, gave it to me on a 4-track tape. And then our song Built to Break, Yo Hello Ray, This Is the Best, Frequency, like all these songs that went down the line all came from his tapes from like 20 years ago. But
Damn.
he never had someone come
So those
along.
are all songs that he would have thrown out because the guy said throw away
If
your
he had
first
listened to him,
If you
but
had
his,
listened.
his inner instinct told him, no,
He's
this is
smarter than
my
that.
art. Shut up. I'm
Yeah.
dropping out. And then he met me, and like I was just looking to be in a band because I love performing. Because like, you know, Ash is definitely the more musical side of USS, not just creatively, but like with me, I'm more of like promoter DJ type. And then naturally, I got into becoming a producer, more of like a musical songwriter myself. And then we kind of came up together and sort of met during our record Approved is when I think that Ash and I came into our own as equals. Because our producer at the time, Togs, was like, he saw the value in both sides.
Right.
He wanted Ash to focus more on writing good choruses, singing the right verses, making sure the song's in the right key. And then he's leaning on me more to be on the beats, production, sound side. Like, you know, how are these songs, like what synths are we going to use? Like, you know, what type of tracks are you hearing? You work on that, I'll work on Ash and the keys of the songs, and can we get a big chorus? And Yeah, it took us 4 years to get there. So, I mean, with every band, I feel like if you don't adapt and evolve, you're dead in the water.
I wonder how many bands have gone into their adventure, their journey, under the belief that they did have to spend all that time together and have all those shared experiences that you guys knew you didn't need to have to become what you are today.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I do see the odd band doc or I see something pop up on Twitter about, artist stories and how, like last night we were talking about the grunge scene and how in 1991, 30 years ago, the greatest alternative acts ever all came out at the same time, out of the same city. Mm-hmm. All the albums went to number one, wiped out hair metal. Grunge was here forever. Basically birthed alternative rock as we know it.
Yep.
30 years later, there's still radio stations all over the world that play only alternative rock. And you hear the stories about those bands, how they got in the van.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ash and I got in the van a year or two after we got on the radio. So then we really got to know each other. So then for us, it was like we were chasing the art and the fans and the live experience. And we didn't worry about the personal stuff because we were both like very malleable. And probably because I went to university and slept on people's floors for a bit. And he was already sort of like a modern hobo himself. So we both already sort of cut our chops and we were ready to just get in a van and go for it, And plus, like you get a song on the radio in Toronto, they're playing it 8 times a day.
Yeah,
you have no choice.
Yeah.
Now you've got a lawyer, a record label, an agent, a manager, and a publicist, and they're all like, "Hey guys, we got to do 10 things tomorrow.
Yeah.
Look sharp." And then we just fell into our natural personalities. Like Ash was just like chatty Cathy about all things of the universe, and then I was just basically his Flavor Flav, like chiming in every once in a while, and then we just grew into it. Got our sea legs.
So you go back to those early days and you played a lot of colleges and universities.
Yes.
So we're obviously in a different studio than we would normally be in for the Road to Stage.
Studio. We are in Edmonton.
We are in Edmonton. So this is actually my son's college apartment. He's working, but all his... So go back to the first place you moved into after leaving home. What was it like? What was the situation? What were you doing?
So when I finished university, I came home I was trying to come home for a few months because I wanted to move downtown Toronto because I was convinced that in Peterborough, where I went to school, I was in bands that would open for bigger bands. And it was just so easy because the local promoters, they would hire us for gigs because they knew our friends would come out and they'd all drink beer.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you can open for Sloan on a Tuesday night and you don't even know how to play music properly, but 50 of your friends come out and the promoter's giving you like free beer, but he knows all your friends are going to come out. I'm like, why can't you do that in Toronto? So then when I came home from university and I was just so annoyed to be at my parents' house because I just did 5 years, met people from all over the world, got my degree, was convinced I was going to get this corporate job as this young business guy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like now I was interested in bands and DJing because I was like always a DJ, but now I'm on stage scratching with a rock band and like the songs are like, all right. And so I went back in my second year now that I'm living with my parents. I get a phone call from the golf club that I worked at all through university. And the executive chef, Donovan Campbell, said, hey, I'll offer you your old job doing inventory control in the food and beverage department. Just come back. I'll pay you a little bit more. I know you're struggling. I was trying to take corporate interviews downtown Toronto. Nobody was having it because I had no experience.
Yep.
Meanwhile, in the back of my head, I'm still going to be in a band one day. So I take the old job. It sucks. I hate it. I'm like, wow, I'm like completely overqualified, but this is all I can get right now. And then I'm working with people that worked there when I was a teenager and they never left. And I'm getting like depressed about that. And then all of a sudden, in the back of the food and beverage department, where now my sister's working, she says, you got to meet this guy, Ash. He is like so weird, but he's like right up your alley. And so we met and we were helping a mutual friend who was a bartender load cases of a Labatt 50 into a beer fridge. And he's like, so I hear you like DJ and spin Milli Vanilli with Guns N' Roses. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. He's like, would you like to DJ my sister's wedding on Labor Day 2004? I'm like, sure, why not? So I went up to his cottage for the dress rehearsal, like, can you hang? So I'm hanging out with his family and I'm just like getting to know Ash. And I'm like, wow, this guy's on a whole other planet. But he was so intense. Like he started coming over to my parents' house every day. He would come over and sleep in our basement and watch Trailer Park Boys with my brother. And they would just hit bongs and just hang out all weekend and watch like Bubbles and Leahy. And then we would eventually jam. and we would jam with kids younger than us. And like we formed this band called A Mess of Uncles, where it was like just noise rock. And then I convinced local bars to like have us come in because we could bring everyone because I knew everyone in town.
Yeah.
And then Ash brought everyone from his town. So all the bar owners loved it. And then in all of that, Ash was like, he goes, hey man, I've always wanted to make this music called Dream Surf Drum and Bass. And this is January 2005. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And there was a drum kit. And he starts playing the two-step like. So as he's playing drums, he acapellas what would become our song Cloud Boy. And he wrote that song to me. And it was, here's my heart, please don't let me down. And I was like, oh, he basically is telling me like, don't leave me. Like, let's start a band together. And as soon as he sang over the beat, I was like, whoa, it's like jungle drum and bass with like Buddy Holly, Kurt Cobain over top. And then I kind of knew how to make beats in this program called Reason, which I still use to this day. And I made good enough beats for us to play our first show. All the songs of that first show, with the exception of 2 of them, made it onto all serious big USS records. And we invited out all of our best friends. We invited out the guy, Chuck Topping, who would eventually co-write and co-produce Hollow Point Sniper Hyperbole, the song that we got onto 102.1 The Edge in Toronto. And then he would become a longtime contributor to all of our records because he knew us so well, and especially him and Ash. And it all happened at the Earl of Whitchurch pub in Stouffville. And we brought enough people out, they were like, this is special. Like, you guys got to chase this. So then we formed a band called Team of Captains, got all of our friends involved. It was a 3-piece, literally the same version of USS, but with a third guy, Chuck, who was on production, mixing. He was more of like the audiophile and great with like melodies and synths and stuff, whereas Ash and I were like, we just want to be zany and crazy. Ash had the vocal parts, I was scratching. And that summer we got to open for some bigger bands, and all through 2005, we were so excited because we thought we were making music no one ever heard before, and we called it Dream Surf Drum and Bass. August 2005, Ash is like, we can move into my friend's house downtown, and we can be closer to the scene. Went downtown, and 16 years later, now I'm on a couch with 2 guys from Red Deer
back
in Edmonton.
In a college dorm.
Back in the college dorm.
Because you guys were pretty big on like Frosh Week. Like Frosh Week
that
scenes,
became
right?
a thing for us, definitely.
Yeah. Which is so funny because the Arkells were also massive Frosh Week
they
acts.
killed it. Yeah. Metric.
When I was like
Fire.
18, 17,
Right.
I remember like friends being like talking about you guys and the Arkells
Oh, cool.
at like Frosh Week concerts at like Laurier or friggin'
Yeah.
Fanshawe.
We did
or
it all.
whatever.
We did the 401.
That philosophy of hiring you guys to play and all your university and college friends are going to come.
Yeah.
Basically led you to being into a Hall of Fame. USS are Hall of Famers now, right?
With Coca.
Yeah, what is this? What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's the college activity.
So Coca is an organization in Canada that they govern and administer all the live entertainment aspects of the campus experience. So they basically have people on campus that will communicate with agents and artists to get them out to form these super lineups. So like at U of A, for example, when they do their Frosh Week and they get like July Talk and Metric and then all these huge DJs and stuff. It's Coca that's responsible for drawing all those acts in together.
Oh, okay.
And if you put in enough time with them and you become like one of their mainstay go-to bands for events right across Canada, and you get to know all the bookers, and then you bro down with them and you hang out and you do shots and you get to know their friends and family, and then now they've got jobs in Toronto. Now you're hanging out with them as a civilian. They never forget. And we literally have played from Dalhousie and Halifax all the way to the University of Victoria on Vancouver Island, all the way up to the University of Northern British Columbia, down to like St. Clair College in Windsor, every single corner, and they never forget. And I guess because Ash and I had put in the time and we played to so many thousands of kids that went through the system who have now become like career-driven fans of ours that are now in like, the corporate world or not-for-profit, whatever. They just decided that, we earned our keep, and they wanted to recognize us as like a Hall of Fame inductee into the Coca Awards last summer.
Oh,
last
congrats.
spring. So awesome.
Very
Those
cool.
are some of our most favorite shows we ever
Oh,
played.
of course.
Like campus, like just mosh pits. And like we played a show at the University of Waterloo, which is has the smartest students, engineering students in Canada. Their venue's called the Bomb Shelter. So they called the Bomber for short. And we went on stage and we started with our song Andy Venom, which is like aggressive grunge drum and bass. And the whole crowd fell into us and knocked over like my turntables and Ash. And the security had no idea that it was going to be pandemonium. Neither did we. Engineering students, straight A's,
Yeah.
all over the world. They probably are building bridges around the world now. Fell into the crowd, total mosh pit, security, all rugby players. Literally formed a scrum to hold them back. And we're just like, this is crazier than playing a show in Toronto. These people have to be up in the morning.
Those are the kids that need to let loose the most, though,
I
right?
guess.
Because they're probably so focused all the time.
They're ready to let loose, and they're ready to just throw whatever you have at us.
Yeah.
We don't care what it is.
Totally.
We're just happy to be here, out of the house.
It was just like such an honor to receive that award. And like Andy Hall, who's always worked for Coca, who he came up with us like when he was in college, all the way through to now his later in life. To have him present us with the award, and it's just like, wow, man, like you saw us when we were like on our first record to like when we were basically like too old and it was time to pass the torch to younger bands.
Yeah.
Saw it all the way through and threw our name in the hat to win that award. You know, it's incredible.
So wait, what year was the beer?
The beer in a band?
Yeah.
Was 20...
So 2017?
Jesus.
Well, it was you guys have played Medicine, so it was right when Medicine came out. So would it be 2018?
Summer 2018.
Summer 2018.
Okay,
Yeah, that's right.
right,
Summer
right.
2018. Yeah.
I want to say we came out special just for that.
You guys did.
Yes, you did.
Well,
That's right.
I want to, like, Ash might have already been out here.
That was our second one?
I want to say.
Second beer in a
That
band?
was this. So Colorado 2017,
Yeah, right.
USS 2018, Black Pistol Fire 2019. Then
And look how
never got to do the 2020.
look
Yeah.
how big the craft beer scene has gotten since then,
Exploded.
right? Like,
Yeah.
it's wild. You guys had a craft beer pretty early on, I feel.
That was great too. Great beer.
Yeah, it was.
I just love the logo, like the mug holding the two mugs.
Yeah.
Troubled mug.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
money.
it was cool. Thank you for that. Again, that was just such a like that's the thing that we live for is like those experiences that like when you're starting a band, like no one promises you anything. But I feel like it's that idea that like we have like a song that was long lost on our first EP called Turquoise 111. And Ash sampled this woman who was speaking about the universe, and it ends on her saying, "Your world is a direct result of your thoughts." And it's so true in the USS experience because we've always drawn in like-minded people and ideas. And it's so interesting with Troubled Monk because like Matt and I are the beer drinkers in the band, not necessarily Ash, but like that's something that like you always dreamed of when you're a nobody. When you see like back in the day, I don't even remember what bands first got beers, but you see that and you're like, wow, what if we could do that one day? And it happened with you guys and it happened with Mill Street in Toronto.
Right.
And it's just like, how is it happening in different parts of the country? And like, we're coming out special for the event. And then the fans, and then there's people there that were just interested in the event that became fans.
100%.
Yeah.
And like, and then you get to know the Troubled Monk folk. And they're just like, let's do it again sometime. And you're just like, man, my parents' basement, January 05
Yeah.
to summer 2018 in Red Deer.
Got our
Where-
logo on a beer.
Like, I had to do my piss test in Red Deer in the winter of 2007 to go to Fort McMurray.
I forgot about that.
Where I worked for 63 days in a row. When Ash and I were apart, when we were a team of captains, we both walked away. And I was in I was in Fort McMurray, but I started in Red Deer because my outfit was in Olds.
Right.
That's right.
I forgot all
And
about this.
Red
Yeah.
Deer. And like to think and it was where I did my test was down the street from Troubled Monk because I remembered where it was. To think that full circle. And I remember when Hollow Point got on the radio back home, our foreman, I was like, Justin, I have to leave. He's like, it's finally happening. He goes, Jay, you go. We're lifers. You actually have a chance. Don't even worry about it. I'll lie to the inspectors. And then he let me come back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then eventually it was like, you got to stay home. Like, there's too much going on. Like, and I'm just like, how does this happen?
So how long did you do that for? The oil field stuff?
I did 2 winters, 07, 08. And then 08 was my final go at it. I was actually up in Bonnyville, Cold Lake on the air weapons range up there, pipelining.
How long you just like you go from business school to starting to this band thing, and then
Did you hear him earlier about go, and I
yeah,
gotta
of
go,
course.
go?
How did you you have family out here or
No, at the time, the lady I was dating, who's from Didsbury,
there you go, home of Peter Michaels,
Yeah.
there you go.
birthplace.
Olds was the birthplace.
And her father, his best friend growing up, who he also worked with the oil fields when they were younger, he was the co-owner of the pipeline outfit that they were looking for guys because that was peak oil, as you would recall,
Yep.
2007. And honestly, in 07, when Ash and I split apart, team of captains, he actually became Ubiquitous Synergy Seeker as himself.
Oh, okay.
And we both racked up so much debt living downtown Toronto, just jumping headfirst into music and working like manual labor jobs. And I had an opportunity through this outfitter because they were looking for guys. So we just decided, my ex and I decided to move to Alberta, a place I'd never ever even been to.
Yeah.
And they just threw me into it. They're like 6 a.m. Monday morning, January like the 3rd, 2007. Like, you're going to Olds and you're going up to Rocky or Slave Lake. That was my first job I was on. 23 days straight. And it was at first, I was like, whoa, it's cold. Oh, I'm in a camp. But then it just ended up becoming so much fun.
Yeah.
And it was like, next job. And then they're like, you're going to Fort Mac. And I was like, I'm going to become a man.
Crazy. I forgot all about that connection. It's wild, man.
And then, so interestingly enough, Hollow Point Sniper Hyperbole, our first single, got picked up by Sonic 102.9 here in Edmonton. And we got an opportunity to open for Bedouin Sound Clash at the Sound Academy in Toronto because now we had the same agent and because they were spinning the shit out of our song in Toronto. And our then team said, hey, Jay, you got to come back. You're opening for Bedouin. And I was like, wow. And I was driving at 3 a.m. to make my like 6 a.m. flight from YAG from Cold Lake. And as I got into the Edmonton region, I remembered that they had an alternative station called Sonic, which I thought they had a better playlist than even The Edge back in Toronto.
Yeah.
And I heard our song and I was like, whoa.
The start of Sonic is so legendary where they were broadcasting literally from an Atco trailer on the side of the highway. That's how that station launched.
Yeah.
Were they still owned by, was it Rogers?
I can't remember if it was Rogers that owned it right from the get-go.
But they came in like ready to take over.
Ready to go.
Ready to go.
100%. And just to stand out
Were they
and
playing it before
broadcasting
the
from an
Edge?
Atco trailer.
No, I think in order it went Toronto, Victoria, Edmonton, Ottawa.
Oh, interesting.
But it was just crazy, like to be driving that early in the morning and it was like dead on the road, snow everywhere, freezing, and to hear our song. And I'm just like I'm working like in the oil fields.
Yeah.
Like I have to come back there to finish this job.
To open for this band.
Yeah. And then we were first to 3 and the crowd was chanting USS. And I remember I met Jay, the singer of Bedouin afterwards. And he's like, yeah, like they were chanting your name. And he's like, way to go. And then he left. And our manager was like, you're probably never playing with them ever again. And I was like, that was our first like big opening slot for a huge band at the time. And I was like, oh, well, hopefully it works out for us.
Did you play for Bedouin again?
No, that was it.
That was the last. Yeah.
But he remembered me. I ran into him at Canadian Music Week and we were hanging out with the Dynalone crew, like Joel Carrier and like the Attack and Black crew. And like Art Kells were in the house, like all early days for all those acts. Like, because Dynalone was like the hip new like indie alt label. And he remembered. And I'm just like, oh man, he'll never let us join on stage.
So what happens tonight at Together Again in Edmonton? The opening was Dear Rouge is on before you guys. Everybody's chanting Dear Rouge, Dear Rouge. How do you react?
Oh, Danielle and Drew are amazing. Their band's awesome. They're just great souls of the earth, and we've known each other for a long time. And I mean, they have their own path, but we're both alternative bands.
Right.
Yeah.
We've had the pleasure of sharing the stage with them for a long time. They actually, when they first started taking off back in the summer of 2014, they played our Edge Fest in Toronto at Echo Beach, which at the time was our biggest headlining show. And Danielle was side stage, and she came over afterwards. She's like, wow, you have great energy, man. And then we sort of forged a friendship after that. And then right before COVID, September 2019, I was on Somersault as a DJ with Our Lady Peace, Bush Live, and Dear Rouge. So it was full circle. And it was nice to come out as Human Kebab, the DJ, with these bands. And they were like, I remember like even Bush were like, play our favorite song tonight. And like Gavin Rosdale's giving me the thumbs up. And I'm like, my grandma helped buy my first turntable. That's the guy that sings Glycerine.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, it's so wild.
Is that what you've been doing for the last year and a half?
Yeah, I still do a lot of DJ stuff from home because I've built a following from all my years at radio and just DJing one-off gigs. And to be honest with you, the DJ alt-rock thing sort of took hold because when we'd play a USS show, sometimes we'd play under our time. And I look over at Ash, and he was just like spent.
Yeah.
He couldn't sing anymore. He just was like, and I saw it. And then, our tour manager was like, we still have to play for 20 more minutes. So I just start DJing. And then like the DJ Human Kebab USS after party was basically born on stage at our shows.
Yeah.
And even in like Western New York, where we have this like massive following, because they can catch the edge in Toronto, they actually started like asking me to play after USS shows, stay on stage to keep the party going.
Mm-hmm.
And it became even more cemented that that would be my thing. And then with the help of the app Mixcloud, which DJ sets can live on forever, I've built like a healthy following. And it's just been nice to have something to do during the pandemic.
Yeah, of course.
You know, you can't play live, but at least you can give people like mixtapes.
One of the other things you've done during the pandemic, which I love, is you've rescued a dog.
Absolutely.
Zoe?
Zoe, that's right.
Talk about Zoe, who seems like an absolute sweetheart of a pup.
She is. She's my fiance. She was looking to have a friend during the winter of 2021 and into the spring, because Ontario was very locked down. And her family actually got a German Shepherd puppy, which she was attached to. Simultaneously, they were following an Instagram account called Fur Warriors out of Hamilton, Ontario. And Fur Warriors rescue dogs from all over the world, bring them to Canada, rehabilitate them, and then try to foster them off to people. And so she caught wind of this dog out of Egypt named Decker, which we were like, Decker? Like Black and Decker? And anyways, nobody would adopt her. I guess it was a little bit of a tougher sell because she has one ear. And I guess like when they had found her, she had a rope so tightly wrapped around her neck that when they released her and they flew her to Canada, animal hospital at Guelph, they had to remove her ear, and they actually had to put a hole in her trachea, and we had to clean it every night. And she still has the outline of the scar from the rope.
Holy.
But Fur Warriors told us that she was the sweetest little dog in the world, and they just said take your time with her. She's skittish around men, probably because of what she went through, but she's just turned into like the greatest dog of all time. And she's a paw dog. So when you get home and you're sitting on the couch, she comes over and lays back and she starts going. I've never had a paw dog because I've always had big dogs or like pugs or Boston Terriers.
Yeah.
And she just stares at you like, paint me like your ladies. She's just like this. And she sleeps above our heads, like which I've never had. It stretches out. And like the moment you wake up and go down the stairs, rips down the stairs. And like, it's just been such a wonderful experience.
How old?
She's 16 months.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, they brought her over in March, which I believe was around the time that she had her surgery, because everything that happened to her was when she was a puppy.
Yeah.
So we think that she's a great dog because she lived through that when she was really small.
Yeah.
And now she's been with us long enough and she loves the neighborhood. There's so many dogs in High Park in Toronto that she's adapted so well. And it's just, and it's so funny. Like, not that we were ever looking for validation, but we go to patios in Toronto and bring Zoe, and she just lays there and like barks at the odd dog. And people come up and like, especially kids, because they're intrigued by the one ear. And then we tell them the story, and they're like, "It's really great what you guys are doing. Thank you." And we're just kind of like, "Oh, we just wanted a dog."
Yeah.
Like, this is what human beings should do with canines. But it's really nice to hear that from people, because it just reminds you that people are so compassionate towards animals. Sometimes even more so for their own humankind.
100%.
I believe that. Yeah, I believe that. And then Zoe's just staying home on tour. It's not gonna.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I've always like every time I've been to Toronto and I see like the little dog park corner set up, and we're of course out here, so the dog can just run for days.
Yeah.
I always wonder what it's like just having those small little dog parks.
Toronto High Park actually has like a Disneyland for dogs.
Is it? Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like, it starts on a hill and then it goes all through the forest, and they built the trail, and then the trail turns into pavement where they drive the lawn maintenance equipment through.
Yeah.
But they have it cordoned off for off leash. So you can bring your dog in there and like walk around it for like an hour, and you encounter every dog imaginable in every breed. And it's literally like Disneyland for dogs. As soon as they get in there, they
And
go
where,
mental.
like, is that close to downtown, or is it?
It's about 15 minutes west of the CN Tower.
Okay.
Is that what you live on the West End, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right before Etobicoke. Which is still technically part of the city of Toronto, but it's definitely a different city than where we live.
Like, do you live in Roncy or further?
Just west of there, on the
okay.
other side of High Park. But great place for animals. Excellent place to socialize.
That park is amazing.
It is.
This is amazing. That's got to be the biggest inner city park, right?
Yeah, it's basically Toronto's Central Park.
Yeah.
But not directly downtown, just far enough west that, I mean, it's fairly overpopulated with people in the summertime, but I think because it's far enough away from downtown Toronto, it's very accessible to anybody.
Good. Well, I wish I had seen that, because I've seen some of the smaller parks like right downtown. and you see people, there's like 10 dogs in there and it's almost at max capacity.
Especially in condo world, like
in condo world for sure.
There's thousands of people that live in those condos, and they've tried. The city's tried to create green spaces for them, and they seem to do well. But I mean, it's definitely like oversaturated to say the least. But so it's nice to have access to the forests and the trees of High Park, and it's just great for animals. And like we've got a great property in our neighborhood where she runs around and knows all the local dogs, and so it's been a pleasure.
And any like hearing issues with losing that ear at all? Or
no, I still talking to it like it's there. Which my lady always reminds me. She's like, she can't hear what you're saying. And I'm like, well, I'm loud enough that 10 dogs across the street are catching me when I'm whispering in her ear. So
how long have you lived in that area?
11 years now.
So you kind of lucked out getting that when you did. Because like every time I go home, which is usually once a year, I just cannot believe how far people are moving.
Oh man, there's
like Barrie is now like it's just crazy to me how many people I know that live in Barrie.
Oh, and Barrie's pretty much considered overrun now. So people are going up to Muskoka. So they're going 2 hours away. Collingwood is like done. It's like most people are priced out up there. Even east, like I know people that have gone to Kingston.
That's
that's
wild.
Like, that's 3 hours from Toronto. So there's no chance in hell you're going to commute. So you better hope that you have a good remote job. But it is ridiculous. And I mean, obviously out here, people know Lower Mainland BC is just as bad. But I feel like in Ontario, it almost feels like more daunting because now these towns that are several hours away, the prices have just taken off for even like, semi like townhouses, like, or even rentals. Just because like people wanted out of the cities. So like all the pressure went on the local communities, and with the remote working from home for all these big companies, and a lot of them are saying like, well, you don't have to come back to work. I mean, now in the fall of 2021, and there's a lot more optimism. I think a lot of big companies are saying, hey, we'd like to see you come back. But you can use the COVID excuse now to stay home, right?
Yeah.
So,
they're also looking at that lease money that they have.
That's the big thing. Like I know in Calgary, there's business or big skyscrapers downtown that are virtually empty.
Wow.
That might not fill up again, like entire floors. Like I've got a friend that's in property management. He's got no reason to go back to an office.
There you go. It blows my mind. In 2020, everyone spoke about how condos were done. Like young people might never come back. And now everyone's back with a full force. And there's actually developments all over the city where they're trying to finish as many buildings as they can. And it's like, wow, they must know something that we don't know. Because it's like the city's just growing again. Like even traffic's back. And I'm like, we need to get out of here. Let's just move to Alberta already.
Yeah, I was. That was one thing during my trip. We went to see my grandmother in Whitby. Okay. So driving from Burlington to Whitby, and it was a Sunday, but it still took us, I think, 2.5 hours.
It's a night. That drive is terrible.
Crazy.
Because you've got the QEW, which is always, even in COVID, it was brutal. Like in 2021 more so. 2020, everything was dead, but then you've got to take the Gardiner through downtown Toronto, which they've had under construction for years now. And then you have to go up the DVP, which is arguably the worst highway in Canada, and then the 401 East. And then it's, once you leave the city of Toronto, it's Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa, Bowmanville, and they're all oversaturated now.
Jam-packed.
Jam-packed.
Yeah,
like,
it was wild.
There's just too many people. Like they didn't build the greater Toronto area to accommodate millions. Yeah. And it's like the suburbs are becoming like bigger and more powerful than the city, even in some regards. Like people are like, I always talk to people in Western Canada. They're like, so all of my bills come from Mississauga. What is that place? I'm like, Mississauga is almost as big as Calgary now.
Yeah.
How do you not know that? Because most people land at Pearson and they see around Square One Mall, the Marilyn Monroe building. It's like, wow, Toronto's beautiful. I'm like, that's a different city. In a different region. Different
with their own government, their own... it's something else for sure.
Yeah.
Well, what time is it?
I was just gonna say this guy's got a show. Should probably.
Well, so did I? When we were dicking around behind the scenes, did I hear that you guys might stop by the actual space in a couple months?
I would like to.
Let's get it on record. Yes,
especially for you guys to speak to Ash. Even if you got a chance to hang with Ash and got his perspective, that'd be interesting. Because I've said a lot today, but just to hear him and where he's at, because he's just like a walking ball of one-liners and entertainment and concepts. Like the things he's been saying in the last 2 days, like I can't even wrap my head around like 90% of them. Like
Yeah.
Every interview I've ever done with Ash, I've left going, what the fuck did he just say?
Yeah.
Like, what did... He's on a different wavelength.
Yeah, he is. And
Yeah.
it's so wildly entertaining because the way he puts together the information he retains and then how he tries to relate it to the average person and where he's at and where he's going, it's just so fascinating. Like he was telling me about like the history of turquoise yesterday because the intro to our show tonight was going to be our lost song, Turquoise 111.
Yeah.
And then he told me why he called it turquoise. And the 111 part's easy. The turquoise part was interesting because my lady and I went to Morocco a few years ago, and Tangiers has turquoise all over it.
Yeah.
And he was explaining its origins and its relation to Turkey all through the Arab world. I'm like, oh, it makes sense why there's turquoise because Morocco is in North Africa, which technically still sits in the Arab world. But he already knew all that. And he just brought it up because of our song. I'm like, oh, that's why you called it Turquoise 111. I'm asking him from 2007 to 2021. Like, how did I not ask you this like 15 years ago?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we'd love to have you guys in, if it fits into your schedule.
Yes.
But you got to come check the space out for sure.
Yeah. No, we love to.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Red Deer will be more low key because I know Calgary and Edmonton will be bonkers, which would be, more us to have our own time as we prepare. But I feel like Red Deer, because we already know Bose and it just feels like we're coming to play like a small town show.
Yeah.
So there won't be any pressure. It'll just be like, just go and kill it.
Yeah,
So
for
we,
sure.
hopefully we can make time and even just for Ash's sake, because I know you guys would love to get him and all his zaniness.
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed my little conversations with Ash over the years as well.
He's just so entertaining. Like he's just the things that go through his mind and how he applies them to personal conversations. It's just you just can never get enough.
So with this final tour, like, do you have? You were talking about all the press stuff, the press junkets, the press promo tours and stuff, the radio station stops. Do you have to do any of that on this?
No, we more or less put a moratorium on it because we want to focus on just the shows.
Right, yeah.
And because, again, like I was saying earlier, it's not like we're really working towards anything. We're literally going out for our fans and for the sake of the music. And, I mean, I feel like we've kind of said it all. Like even in last December when we spoke over Zoom, that was more or less like, like a standard press day when a record comes out. Obviously, the final tour was on the tip of everyone's tongues.
Yeah.
So that was a good time for the two of us to get it out with whoever we were speaking with. Whereas now, this time, it's like, we've said it and done it. Let's just go and play the shows and focus on the fans and the music. But again, like with you guys and me doing this today, I feel like it's only fitting. And I know Ash, if he's in the right mood, he'll come and talk to you guys for 4 hours.
Well, that's the beauty of this whole project has been like those opportunities we've had to talk to bands that are doing the press junket is like, it's such a different vibe. It's very restrictive.
You're in, you're out, you're talking about the current project and, that's...
Well, I mean, like, look at, like, all the big podcasts. Like, I mean, obviously Joe Rogan is the podfather, but the free flow of conversation is what people are drawn to now.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't even, like, really talk about the music anymore. You talk about, like, how did it all come to be? Like, why am I here talking to you guys today? Not because, we have a new record and here's the single.
Yeah.
It's literally like, why did you move home and work at a golf club? And if I was to lean into the synchronicity of Ash and I'd be like, clearly it was to meet Ash to form USS.
Yeah.
Which he would believe because he's into that 111, So.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us in this. I don't know where the fuck we are, to be honest.
Downtown Edmonton somewhere.
We're still on the Jasper Ave side.
That is true.
Yeah, that's right.
North of the River Valley.
Yep. Hell yeah, man. Well, thanks again, and we'll see you in a couple months.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
We were only supposed to have 20 minutes with him.
Yeah, you mentioned that after the interview, which I wasn't aware of before.
Oh, I didn't tell you going in?
I don't think so.
Okay, well.
I don't think so, because, it was, it was a funny thing that Ryley and you were already in Edmonton. Ryley and I drove up together on Sunday morning, and then we met you at the apartment. You let us in, and then you left while we set up to go. You went and grabbed Jason, right?
Yeah.
And then as soon as he got there, it was just like, boom, kicks the door open. Let's hang out. Let's talk.
Yeah.
And I got the idea you could have gone for longer.
I definitely think.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward.
And like, kudos to him. That's a show day. It's just a few hours from getting back on stage for the first time in hundreds of days.
Yeah.
Huge thanks for him taking the time to chat, because I'm sure there's probably a billion other things you maybe would rather have done on a Sunday afternoon before a show.
And I will say, if that's your first introduction to Jason, the Human Kebab, or USS in general, it couldn't be, any better to do it now, because they're almost done. As you heard, they're wrapping it up.
You're getting in on the ground floor with this band.
Yep.
Check them out
For the final time.
for the final time. Which we will get them into the studios here and hopefully maybe get them making some noise in front of the green screens.
Yep.
And there's still a couple of tickets remaining for this Red Deer show. They've got lots of sold out dates.
Pretty damn close, though, right?
Pretty damn close.
Yep.
And lots of sold out dates, which is that's the way you want a band to go out.
So check it out. And I don't know. What do we got now?
Other things to check out: Bo's Bar and Stage YouTube channel.
Please subscribe.
Don't just check it out.
We
subscribe.
went up, and then some idiot unsubscribed.
Who unsubscribed?
Who the hell does that?
Who does that?
How? What did we do?
Does it look good if you just subscribe, unsubscribe, subscribe, unsubscribe?
I don't think so.
Does that mess with the algorithms?
Anyways.
Reviews are important too. Did you know that?
Yes,
like,
I
like
did.
Google reviews,
Google
Apple
reviews, Apple is kind of the place for podcast reviews, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, do that.
Anything like that helps. Yeah.
Follow us the road to the stage and follow Communal Creative Studios, which is in its fourth or fifth month of existence.
Does it seem like 4 years, producer Ryan?
And is getting very busy. Very, very busy.
He's still got a full head of hair, but I don't know that it's going to last much longer.
Well, no, his hair will stay, but the color might start
the
changing.
color, okay, the color, baby.
Yeah, and shout out to producers Ryan and Ryley, and yourself, Peter.
Go Services, Sawback Brewing Company, Red Deer or Tourism Red Deer, and Bo's Bar and Stage. Another episode. Hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, when?
Wednesday.
The Road, the Stage is produced by Ryan Kuly and Ryley Surian at the Communal Creative Studios in Red Deer, Alberta. In partnership with Go Services Inc., Sawback Brewing Co., Tourism Red Deer, and Bo's Bar and Stage.